Hello and welcome to episode 3 of Forest Beyond the Tracks, the Empire Affair podcast. Today is part 2 of our live gig subject.
We'll get lost in the forest beyond the trees.
So yeah, if you're a new listener or you've not seen us live or you're not familiar with us, you might be forgiven for thinking that all of our gig experiences are amazing and we have these brilliant times that we've been sharing now. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Well, fortunately for you, because we're going to share some of the worst or most embarrassing or most ridiculous gigs that we've experienced in our time together. And I think we'll probably start the ball rolling with what I would imagine that for 4 of us at least is hands down the worst gigging experience that we've probably ever had. And that was, for context, we were in the build-up to recording Pangs. We were trying to fundraise. We were trying to get as much money together for the recording as possible. So we were taking paid gigs, essentially wherever would have us. And the reason that it's the worst gig for 4 of us is because one of us, i.e. Jack, didn't actually play the gig. He was busy, but he was also the person that got us the gig in the first place. So Jack, why don't you give us a bit of context as to what this was?
So yeah, so my father, he drinks he plays snooker and drinks in the Pool Labour Club, and they basically offered us a ridiculous amount of money to play a gig. I think it was something like £400 for like an hour and a half, or an hour or something. We were like, yeah, okay. And then Saturday night, Pool Labour Club. It's absolutely buzzing. Problem was the date that they gave us. It was actually my brother's wedding day, so it's a pretty good excuse not to be there. I heard it all went swell. You know, I had a good evening. I heard you guys a bit indifferent, but yeah, I'll let you explain.
Yeah, so we rocked up to many venues that we've never played before. We rock up with that anticipation and excitement of what it's going to be like. I don't know at what point it changed from excitement to absolute dread. But it was a huge stage. It was like almost like a church hall kind of stage layout that we set up on. And there's probably a handful of people, all well over 65, with the exception of 1 or 2. And it's very quickly dawned on us that this probably wasn't going to go well. And you'll be glad to know that it did not.
I mean, it almost started from the moment we first set up all the gear and started playing, just doing a sound check. We were pretty much told we were far too loud for the evening's entertainment within an instant, and we'd have to tone it down because the clientele in there did not appreciate that volume level and also that type of music. This was not fed to us by Jack prior to turning up at the gig. So we were obviously quite keen to pocket this money and do our evening's duties and our work because we love playing live. We want to play live, and we had to see this through no matter what. So Matt came up with a brilliant idea to kind of initially tone down our volume level for like the first half, because I think we started playing the music and it was just the looks and the groans from the people in the room was audible. I mean, it wasn't just like the odd folded arms across the chest and a few grunts. You could hear people complaining that they didn't like what we were playing out loud. So I think
I seem to remember at least one person walking up to the side of the stage to get our attention either mid-song or as a song ended to inform us, you need to play much, much quieter, and do you know any Rolling Stones?
Or Elvis, I think.
Or Elvis, yeah.
So I remember, Matt, you had your acoustic or something, didn't you? And you managed, because we had to fill like a 2-hour time slot. We had to fill like a time of like 2 hours or something to get the money. So we were like...
Yeah. So, I like I say, we had to fill time and we were quite limited on songs anyway, because a lot of our songs they just weren't the same without Jack. Just not the same.
Some say they're better.
Some say a lot of things. So yeah, I filled in on a few sort of solo acoustic songs. I can't remember what I did. I've got a bit of experience playing in covers bands, so I've played a lot of labour clubs, working men's clubs, and these sort of country pubs where you do have to play Rolling Stones and Elvis and all these pub favourite covers. So yeah, thankfully I did have a few in my pocket which I managed to work my way through during the set, and just, like I say, blast out a few sing-alongs to try and crawl back anything we possibly could.
So I think we managed to make it just about to half time at the gig, and the room was packed. We just managed to blag our way there, and I remember going to the bar to go and get a drink, and this guy, he beckoned me over to come and have a chat with him, and he said to me, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, Neil, but he said to me, I don't think much of your lead singer. I don't think he's got a very good voice. And I was just like, what do I say to that?
I don't remember that.
You've got another,
that might have broken me.
Yeah, I mean, we had another half to go. It was like, well, sit tight, buckle in. You've got another 10 songs to get through. But what then happened, the reason they were all staying around was because there was a meat draw halfway through the evening.
You can't beat a meat draw.
Everyone had their tickets. And yes, because I went to the bar at that time, they roped me into the meat draw. So I was pulling out the tickets out of the bloody bingo machine. It was crazy. It was the most hostile crowd I've ever played to. And we're talking people who are senior citizens who have bus passes, majority of them. They did not want us in the room, and they let us know. I wanted to get out there as soon as possible.
And as you were doing the meat draw, I was probably halfway through Oops Upside Your Head with a couple of Jaegers in me. But
what was your famous quote from that night, Tom?
I think Jack called me either after the gig or during that half-time break, and we just played Croatia, or a few previously. We'd been in Croatia on a tour, and we'd had few tough crowds out there. And I said to Jack, he was like, "How's it going? I'm having a great time at the wedding. How are you guys getting on at the gig?"
I don't think I sort of like gloated in your face. I just,
inquired.
You were merry. You were, let's say, 3 sheets to the wind. But
tires around my head.
I believe the phrase that came out of my mouth was, "You thought Croatia was hostile. You haven't played the Pool Labour Club."
Well, there we go.
I think we can collectively agree between the ones of us that were there that is probably the worst gigging experience that we have ever had. Another one that springs to mind for me wasn't necessarily anywhere near as awful or as embarrassing or anything like that. But Jack mentioned earlier in the podcast how kind of 8 out of 10 of our Dublin Castle gigs were absolute smashes and were some of the best nights that we've had as a band. But one stands particularly in my memory through almost no fault of our own. And I'll take you back to anyone that remembers Super Saturday of the London 2012 Olympics. And if anybody doesn't know why it was referred to as Super Saturday, or people don't necessarily have that kind of connection to England, to Great Britain, Super Saturday, it was called that because within about half an hour of each other, Greg Rutherford won gold, Jessica Ennis won gold, and Mo Farah won a gold medal in the Olympics, which was amazing. But that was also at the moment that we were supposed to be going on stage. And if you've not been to Dublin Castle or you're not familiar with the venue, it's kind of split into 2 halves. So you've got the main bar at the front, which has got TVs, which was showing the Olympics. And then you have to go through some doors and pay entry into the live music section. So it's safe to say that while that was going on, absolutely nobody was interested in live music, including us, because we were watching the Olympics as well. And the venue were annoyed at us because we were about half an hour late onto stage. But then even after that point, everybody was so happy or so excited with what was going on with the Olympics, they were not remotely interested or even considering live music. So it was a particularly interesting night for us.
I remember, I think it was the same night, but just for the listeners, I'm not really into sport. I don't know anything much about it. So the last person that someone would probably want to put a camera to from, I think it was someone from Brazil who was
MTV
outside.
Brazil.
MTV Brazil come up to me and asking me questions. I can't remember what they were, but I just remember looking and just be like,
Oh, I remember that.
yeah.
Because
Oh,
the next,
please, fill us in, Tom.
maybe you can give us the same answer you gave back then, because I remember your answer because it was gold.
Do it.
Because obviously MTV Brazil were there because the next Olympics were in Rio, so they wanted to get a feel of the London, what was happening in London during the Olympics, the excitement, that what were the people on the street feeling. So they asked Darren, what has the Olympic Games brought to London? What have you enjoyed about it? And do you remember what you said, Darren?
No, not on Scooby.
Said it's a bit more traffic in the area.
Suggestion.
British response you could ever get. It's too much traffic. But London's congested as it is. We don't need more.
Yeah, I don't think they were too pleased with that answer. But anyway,
I don't think it made the cut.
No, I think they just looked at each other, the producers, and just went, yeah, thanks for your time. Yeah, see ya. Go find someone else.
Yeah.
There was another issue which compounded the kind of low capacity at the gig that night as well. Was another band who were on before us. They were because they get together sort of random genres of music on the bill same night, and we were put together with this Japanese duo who had nothing but laptops, and they were on before us. So we were like, okay, when they're finished, we'll go on. We'll put one eye on the Olympics. And whilst we were sort of dipping in and out of the room, we caught wind of their gear was not working. Their laptops they brought couldn't plug in, couldn't play anything. So whilst they were in there, they cleared out the room even more because they couldn't get their music equipment to work. So no one was interested, like in the slightest, in any music because they killed the vibe. They were nice people. I spoke to them. Lovely people. They even asked me where were they going to sleep tonight and how much money they were going to get. Don't know why they asked me that question. I was not part of the venue, but
just polite.
Just being polite. But yeah, that sort of really didn't help, as everyone else was also watching Greg Rutherford, do his what he does best.
What does he do best, Tom?
He uses his legs to win gold medals.
I think he was a long jump or triple jump.
Yeah, long jump. Yeah.
There you go. So if you weren't interested in the Empire of Fair facts for this podcast, you've learned something else as well. So obviously we've talked about Dublin Castle as if we're basically sponsored by them. And I think one of the specific ones we talked about in some of our best gigs was from January 2012. I can't remember who mentioned it. We played a Saturday night in Dublin Castle in January in 2012. After that night, during that night, we played an absolutely amazing show. If we do say so ourselves, we had a great time, and I think there was plenty of alcohol drunk before, during, and after as well.
Not by me, I was driving. Not
by you were driving, yeah. The problem was, the day after, we had to come back to Bournemouth to play if I can get the word out, preliminary round of a Dorset music competition, which took place at a venue called Centre Stage in Bournemouth. And essentially every band had 2 songs to convince a board of judges that they should be kind of put into the next rounds of the competition. And we strolled in, probably, I mean, certainly from my opinion, probably slightly overconfident off the back of such a good night the day before.
Yeah, and, Camden, yeah.
And we played. I know we definitely played December.
Yeah.
What else? We played another song, but I can't remember what it was.
I think it might have been One Night in Munich. No.
Can't get through.
I reckon.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what our top song was back then. What we thought. So maybe Tornadoes.
It might have been. We played the 2, and I thought we played them quite well. But
the judging panel thought otherwise.
The judging panel thought otherwise. Not necessarily that we didn't play them well, or certainly that wasn't feedback that we were given. We were simply told that we were too loud. So there's a consistent theme running through our worst gigs, that we have a volume issue, which it might be our fault.
Well,
It was a strange one as well, because if I remember rightly, it was like quite in the middle of the day or early afternoon. There was no crowd as such. It was literally just the judging panel and a few other members of other bands that just so happened to be there. So it was a really strange atmosphere to play a gig.
They had multiple stages set up, didn't they? And each band it was just like hopped from one stage to the next to judge as many bands as possible in as short a time frame as possible.
I think as we were setting up, or as we were playing, Jack Grace and his band were setting up on the other stage. Little bit
I think Lloyd was there as well. He was in States of Matter at the time. As we mentioned earlier, our good friend Lloyd, who filled in.
Best drummer in the band.
Was playing.
Ooh. Sorry.
That's all right. I'll wait my turn.
Yeah.
I got plenty.
Yeah.
So we didn't get through to any future rounds in that competition, which we were bitterly disappointed with. And I think certainly for me in my youth, where I was certainly more arrogant and bitter about things and took things much more to heart, we decided to voice our displeasure at our next vandalism gig at the O2 Academy when it came to our choices of outfits. I remember we got a stencil that we made, and we spray painted the words "Too Loud" onto Darren's t-shirt, and posed for a photograph with one of the judges, and took it in great spirit. And I think, to be honest, I think all of us look back on it and laugh, even and it kind of shows
definitely
the pettiness that we were kind of enamored by.
Yeah, and the judge's name in question is Tim Hayward, and if Tim is listening, we still love you. We're over it now. It's been nearly 7-8 years. We're just about over it now. We'll call it quits.
Can you remember who won that competition in the end?
Peace, Love and Gloves.
It was Peace, Love and Gloves.
Great band.
Yeah, and we played with them not so long ago.
I know we were just saying about obviously being how loud we were on that gig. If anyone's listening wants to, judge for themselves, I think there's a video of our audition, or I say audition, but us, I guess our audition to the panel of judges on YouTube somewhere. And I think we was due in December. And I think in the video, you've got no shoes on. You're just barefoot. I remember you went for like a barefooted stage at one point.
I remember that, and I don't know. There was a specific reason, but I can't remember why. I think I hurt my foot. Time in the episode now where I think we can just open it up to everybody, and we can share some more of our favorite memories, kind of memorable moments, and just kind of some insights into the live experiences that we've had over the years. So, Tom.
Just want to touch on the first gig we ever did together as Empire Affair, which was good experience, great experience. It was good fun. There's only two things I remember from that gig. Well, three. I remember the venue, Winchester. But the two things I remember, we started with an instrumental track, which we never play, hardly ever. Which is called Drive. If that's a real deep cut in the back catalogue. Doesn't get an outing very often unless you come to one of our pub gigs or that gig. And I remember I thought, is this a special moment? I don't know. I'll get to play the very first note in Empire Affair's live history because I start the song. So I thought I was quite proud of that moment. I think it's a B in case anyone's wondering. And then the other a bit of useless information for you. So we also had a cover in that set, which was a Strokes song. Does anyone remember what song it was?
Reptilia.
No, that's
Correct, Reptilia. And
there was another cover in there as well. Sorry.
Was there 2 covers? Well, I couldn't remember. Yeah, what was the other one?
Block Party with the Flux.
With your flags. Oh.
Whoa, that's
We
going
were really short on material.
Yeah, maybe a bit too premature, that gig.
Yeah,
In
we got enough
retrospect.
for a whole set, but we'll gig.
It was fun. It was good fun. Set us on the path to where we are now, talking on phones.
I remember the first time we played the O2 in Bournemouth. My pedals wasn't working. So basically, we got on stage. We got literally like a 5-minute turnover, if that, plugged in, no sound check or anything. Well, we sound checked earlier in the day. Plug in, bang, 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 and I've put my pedals in, and something's not right. Like I couldn't figure out what it was, and we're running out of time, and everyone's looking at me going, "Yeah, we ready to go?" I'm thinking, I haven't got I had a little Zoom, like multi-effect pedal. It did everything, and it just cut out, and it just wasn't working, and no light was coming on. I was like, right. So I literally had to do the gig, just guitar straight into amp. And if I wanted to go to like a dirtier sound halfway through a song, I had to go over and sort of adjust accordingly. So, we managed to pull it off, and I was fucking kicking myself for days after that.
But what happened is this didn't just happen with Jack on stage. All of us were stood on stage in front of hundreds of people. All of us were stood on stage looking at Jack, thinking, what the are we gonna do? We were just stood there, and in the end, Tom pulled an idea out of his hat, and we just ran with it.
Well, I wasn't even sure I was playing the right notes, but I went with it anyway because it seemed quite fitting. I managed to somehow play "Don't Stop Believing" by Journey, just the bass line. And Neil picked up on this fact and started to get the crowd singing along with everyone else. So everyone in the crowd thought this was part of the show. They thought, "Oh, what a cool opening. Let's do a, a cappella version of Don't Stop Believing to get everyone in the right frame of mind for the show." But it was just blag. Let's fill some time, and let's just try and get through this as best we can. There's just a nice moment where also we ended up playing that song again in our Rewind the Clocks gig, which is a nice callback to that moment at the O2 for Vandalism, where we got to play the whole song all together, all 5 of us, full sound as well. So it was a nice sort of reference back to that moment.
Just a small town girl living in a lonely world. She took the midnight train going anywhere. Just a city boy, born and raised in South Detroit. He took the midnight train going anywhere. Don't stop believing. Hold on to that feeling. Street lights, people.
And was that the only time that you've had gear problems, Jack?
Some call it gear problems. Some call it artistic slants. I've been known to make a lot of mistakes on stage. There's a lot of strings. There's a lot of notes on there, and I always blame it on the amp. I'm working with broken amps all the time. They just they make your guitar sound funny. It's there's a couple of videos online.
It happens to the best of us. One of the times we went up to London, we played a venue called Monte Water. That's cool little venue. It's a converted old theatre, I think it was.
Yeah.
It was in 2012. Literally the first chord of the first song, I think it was "Can't Get Through." I just whacked it and the string broke. Thankfully, I'm usually quite organised and quite prepared, so I managed to run off the side of the stage. The other guys carried on playing. I ran off, changed the string, managed to get back before the end of the song. And I was quite lucky that the guys managed to carry on without me. It's just one of those things that happens. It's live music, baby. It happens.
My memorable moment. I think, Jack, you know what I'm going to say, but it's just going back to what you were saying. So, Matt, yours is in 2012? Mine's completely the other end of the scale. So, 2019. And I'm quite annoyed this is my most memorable moment because out of all the years we've been gigging, there's been many, but for some reason someone only lasted probably 1-2 seconds. It's just ingrained and just stuck. And even to this day, I just laugh. So, Jack, I think it was I can't remember if it was November or October or December last year, 2019. So we're playing 60 million postcards.
Yeah.
And there's a video of this, by the way, to confirm this actually happened.
Yeah.
If you go to a minute in the video, that's where it is, by the way. We were doing Forest Beyond the Trees quite early on, and there's a bit where, basically, Jack, you've got one job, okay, on this one little moment.
Basically, I played the wrong chord.
Thought your amp was broken.
It's funnier than that. It's just like the bum note. It's just, and you can see, like, because basically you're sort of looking down at your strings, like thinking, yeah, I can't miss this. And you do. But it's just when you miss it, you just keep your head down. And you're like, God, fuck.
And I turn around, you're instantly looking at me.
Yeah. But then, like, I remember me and you, we're looking at your amp going, oh, like, is your amp blown again?
Let's keep it going till we disappear, and the only sound I hear is you.
I think it was only last week. I was just lying on my bed. And it just came to me, and I was like, I gotta watch it. Just go straight to a minute or 59 seconds into the video. Ding! That's it. Then I'm off doing something else. So yeah, that is
well, one of my most memorable moment of you, Darren.
Oh,
I think we were playing again at the O2 in Bournemouth, and there's a live. Somebody recorded it live. We'd just done our own version of Lana Del Rey's video game, and it's probably one of the best versions we got of it live. And we're on the big stage, obviously. We've got all the lights going, all the smoke and all this. And we've nailed it. Everyone's gone nuts and gone, yeah, it's, amazing.
Give me one of those. Hands up like Valerie. Oh, yeah. Singing in the backyard, pull up in your backyard, whistling my name. Open up a beer, sing your
And then we start to go into the last song. We will never make this mistake again, because we had 2 set lists on each side of one bit of paper. So we thought we were going into One of Me.
So yeah, so my set list said something else, but I think you all had the correct side up. But my set list was on a previous gig we'd done before.
Yeah.
So I was looking at it, I was like, okay, yeah, okay, this one.
And then you sort of counted us all in, and we were all playing one song. And Darren, you were playing drums to completely a different song at a different tempo.
I didn't play anything because the song was, by the way, was "Take Me Down," which is an earlier song where I never counted in. I've never counted into that song because you just play and then
I start the song.
Basically, we know when to come in. So you were like you were looking at me going, give us a 4 count, and I remember like going in my head like, all right, like I don't normally do this, but okay, all right, I'll count you in. And then you did it, and then like I was like, this song. I've done it. I timed up right when I came in. I just panicked. I just went just started playing, and then looking at the video, I was like, somehow got away with that.
No, we didn't get away with it. It was one of the most awkward watches I've ever watched.
See, it's all right for you guys because you're all playing instruments and you can look down at your instruments. I remember leaping into the air, one of the highest jumps that I've ever done, ready to start a song and hearing a completely different song start up. And I looked around for a second, but I couldn't let anybody see that we were in the wrong.
It's all part of the plan. It's all part of the plan.
Right,
Live and learn.
Any other memories that we got?
Yeah, I've got one. And it's not even necessarily too music related. It's kind of something that happened after we'd finished playing live. So we used to play regularly at a pub in Bournemouth and Southbourne called the Athelston, which was quite close to where Tom lived at the time. And one year we were asked to play their New Year's Eve show. So we had to play for a couple of hours, and we were also asked if we could DJ afterwards. So we made the Spotify playlists and things. It wasn't anywhere near as cool DJing as it sounds, but we made some playlists together. And at some point after we played, this massive brawl broke out, this fight between all these people, and there's like people were like piling on top of each other on the floor, and the landlords of the pub were like running out, and they were like picking people up by the collar of the neck and like throwing them out the doors. And I turned to Matt. We were both stood where we were DJing at the time. I turned to Matt and I said, "Oh, are we supposed to do something?" And Matt, without taking a second, looked at me and said, "Don't worry, I got this." Turned to his phone and just played George Michael, Careless Whisper. So we saw in the new year watching a bunch of people kick the shit out of each other to Careless Whisper.
I still maintain that it quickly dissipated. I think George Michael saved the day and probably saved people's lives that night, and probably saved the pub. Who knows what could have happened to that pub if George Michael hadn't stepped in.
You don't like a bit of George Michael? Careless Whisper,
No.
Great track.
Turns fighters into lovers.
I mean, I remember it was getting closer and closer to like where we were. I remember like just glancing to my right at my drum kit, just thinking, are they safe? Like, are they going to get used as a weapon? I was just like, please, no. Please, they're very expensive.
There's another classic moment involving PAs and amps, which this time was not our fault, which took place at a sort of local to pool music event, outdoor music event called Party in the Park in 2013. So we were doing our set, doing our thing, and through no fault of our own, as we were coming to the crescendo of the song, the end of the song, the PA all cut out, and we were left sort of, if you will, naked on stage with nothing but Darren's cymbals and snare ringing out across the whole of this field. And we was just powerless, and everyone was like, thought it was us. We might claim it was us because we were just so loud again, blowing equipment up.
I remember at the time I was like, when it cut out, I was just like, well, I'm all right, I'll just keep going. And I was like, it's really strange because I'm sure, like, you know, if any musicians listen, they kind of you obviously tune into a guitar and the vocal to kind of gauge where you are on the song. And it was when you all cut out, I was like, oh god, I don't know where I am. I was like, but like, because there's actually a video of this on YouTube if anyone wants to go and check it out. Yeah, I remember watching it back and going, do you know what? Actually played the right amount of like bars to the end of the song. Like, whew.
Jack has reliably informed me that he has a question for us that none of us know what it's going to be, and we're going to have to answer. So what you got, Jack?
Well, I don't even know what it is. I'm just going to make it up. No. All joking aside, right. Can anybody tell me how many gigs we done outside of Dorset off the top of their head?
Outside of Dorset?
Yeah. How many? Without looking, Matt. Don't look. Nobody look at the
My
extent
guess
of gig list.
is... My guess would be 28.
Darren says 28.
20 advances on 28.
I was
I
thinking
think
something
I
around
think
that.
it's less than that. I'm going to go 21.
Darren, Neil is going 21.
I'm going to say 35.
Matt's saying 35.
And now Tom comes in with the tactical vote.
Yeah, he's going to get one under somewhere, isn't he?
You guys all jumped in first, didn't give me a chance to answer. 25.
25.
Nice solid number.
Okay. I could confirm that nobody got it right. Matt was the winner with 35. We actually played 37 gigs outside of Dorset.
Oh.
No way. Wow. So what would that be? Like, would that be mainly London and obviously...
We got London, we got Winchester,
yeah,
Southampton to join us.
We've alluded to it a couple of times. We've played a few gigs in Croatia as well. We haven't necessarily talked about that very much in this podcast.
No.
We're planning to do a whole episode talking about those experiences because there are some pretty crazy stories that happened on there that we want to kind of dedicate some time to talking about. But I didn't think about half of those gigs. Do you remember? Do you remember that gig that we had that we were supposed to have in Birmingham, and we got halfway there, and then we found out on the road, we got a phone call that the gig had been cancelled, so we just had to turn around and go home.
That was
we're nearly there, weren't we? We're like some service station. Yeah, I remember. We was like, right, we had like minibuses full of people. We sold all these tickets. It
was like a Wednesday as well. We'd done like all right.
Yeah.
And I remember like going into the bathroom, like checking my phone, and the promoter texted me saying, "Yeah, sorry, mate, we're gonna have to pull tonight's gig. Not enough ticket sales, or blah blah blah." And we were on with a couple of other bands, and I was like, "Mate, we've come all the way from Bournemouth. We're like an hour away." He's like, "Yeah, sorry, mate, not my problem," sort of thing. And just like that was the last I heard from him. On that gig as well, we were meant to have been playing with Ali Campbell from UB40. His daughter's got a band, and we were meant to be playing with her. So that was a bit of a good.
We also had a bit of bad luck. We were due to play with Top Loader as well at a venue in South London, Brixton, maybe somewhere.
Brixton, yeah.
The venue got double booked. They had printed tickets and everything, and we were selling them, and they didn't realise the venue was double booked until like a week before or a couple of days before. So we had all these people again due to come up with us for the gig. We had to tell them the bad news that we weren't going to play with Top Loader.
Mm-hmm. We've had that a few times, haven't we? We had there was a festival on at Upbeat Festival. We were due to play with the Zombies. I think Dodgy were playing as well.
Yeah. The Feeling.
Yeah, they were meant to be playing, and again, that got pulled like 2 weeks before. That was a bit gutting, and obviously, with everything going on with this coronavirus, we were meant to be playing Teddy Rock's festival over in Blandford, and that's obviously been put back to October, I think.
September, I think, isn't it?
September, October. Yeah, after summer.
Hopefully everything goes according to plan, everybody's safe and recovers in the best ways possible. So one final memory that I have that I'd like to kind of talk about before we wrap up the episode is another London gig. Before we played our headline shows at Dublin Castle, we had to almost prove to the promoters that we could bring crowds and that we were kind of half decent. So we had to play a couple of gigs at another pub, which was in Islington, wasn't it? The Hope and Anchor.
Hope and Anchor. It's a very famous pub. Yeah. I think it's where U2 got discovered.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So it was
wow.
We had to play a couple of times. I remember once we played on like a Tuesday night there, and then another
midweek.
It was a midweek one, and then we had a Saturday one, which we bought our regular minibuses up for. But it's the Saturday one that stands out in my memory. I think there was a number of things that happened that were particularly entertaining, but the one that I know for sure, Matt, that we have audio of, and it got to us playing Take Me Down, and there's a particular moment where for some reason the audio only picked up Matt's backing vocal making a brilliant noise. And I still to this day don't know how you managed to make that noise.
Could you try and recreate it, Matt?
Well, I think in my mind, like, it's quite a famous venue for the punk scene, like Dublin Castle was. Hope and Anchor had a lot of history with Sex Pistols and Buzzcocks and people like that. And that's where a lot of my listening is punk and alt rock and grunge and stuff. And yeah, so I was trying to channel that for my backing vocals, and there's a particular moment in Take Me Down where it's I think it's coming out of the bridge. There's like a come on.
You're in
like some random proper London punk guy, and I literally no idea how I made that noise.
Also, at the beginning, I think, was it that gig? It was definitely that venue. I remember we were playing with a French band.
Right.
Tom, and all his wisdom and all his great...
Suave.
Yeah. So basically, he's talking with the other bass player, who happens to be obviously they're from France, and he's asking them about like, can we share the same amp?
He notices they've got accents. They've got some kind of European accents.
Yeah, and basically he says to her, "Oh, so where are you from?" And she goes, Paris." And Tom thought she said Barry, and she was like, "No, Paris." And he was like, "Oh," clearly with a thick French accent.
It's so true. I can't even deny it. It's just really embarrassing. Yeah, I'm sorry, I got confused Paris with Barry in Wales. Anyone who's been to both those places will probably will say they are very similar. I have not been to either, so I couldn't comment.
So to wrap up today's episode, then again, thank you for everybody that's liked the previous episode and has sent us questions. Again, we're going to be asking for plenty of other questions and comments on our social media channels. So feel free to reach out to us. In next week's episode, we are going to be talking about kind of how it all started for us as Empire Affair, those kind of early years and experiences, right up through to our first EP, recording that, which was Red Light. So again, if you've got any questions or anything that you want to know, or any thoughts on that, or memories of those times, please feel free to let us know. As I say, we've got plenty more stories about our time in Croatia, which we'll definitely share in a future episode. So that was episode 3.
Done.
Beyond the Tracks.
Thanks for coming.
See you again soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
See you
Bye.
later.